My name is Benny Chick, and I'm the Americas lead for the End User Computing Business Unit at VMware. And I got to tell you, I'm very excited to be here today, and I'm very excited for two particular reasons. The first one, it's been a little while since I've been invited to come up on stage in North America. I've been spending a little bit of time in Latin America talking to my customers and partners, speaking a little bit of Espanol, so hopefully you can understand my Spanish and my English, and I'm not too rusty. But the second one is I'm just really passionate about talking enterprise mobility. I love talking to our customers and our strategic partners about empowering the workforce and how we can join you together in this journey to what we call at VMware the Anywhere Workspace. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about empowering the workforce, the hybrid workforce, what it is, what our customers are telling us are some of their IT challenges, how we're helping those customers solve for those challenges, and how we're helping them realize their business goals along with strategic partners. So before we start, I think we would start with acknowledging a simple fact. Hybrid work is here to stay, right? And I think I've heard it twice or maybe three times already here this morning. And that's a great thing, right? I mean, we should embrace having our workforce to be able to work from anywhere. Why, you ask? Number one, because it's going to allow you to bring better services to your customers. Number two, because it's going to help you differentiate from your competition. And number three, and perhaps one of the most important ones, it's going to empower your end users to be more productive. So, in order to do that, our customers are telling us that they're facing some challenges. Three big challenges in specific. The very first one is operational complexity. In order to mobilize these workforces, organizations such as yourselves have to implement multiple technologies, multiple siloed solutions to manage the different aspects of the hybrid workforce or enterprise mobility. You have one solution to manage antivirus on the devices. You have another solution for virtualized desktops and applications. You have another solution specific to iOS devices. Another solution perhaps specific to ruggedized devices with perhaps solutions like SODI, right? That creates a lot of complexity on the IT side of managing and also limiting precious time that they can be spending in perhaps more innovative ways to better your business or your businesses. The second one is the suboptimal experience, right? I mean, and we got a first glimpse during the pandemic where organizations such as yourselves were forced to mobilize thousands of employees overnight. And what happened was that in order to gain access to those corporate resources, your VPN connections didn't have enough bandwidth. The mission-critical applications that they needed access to, they just weren't working properly. Some of your applications in your organizations perhaps were not modernized, or were still running in the data center. How do you gain access to those workers, whether they're working from home or they're working from your customers' offices, to gain access to that? I have to turn on a VPN connection and then generate an RSA token, and then I have to go into an application, remember my credentials. Eric was talking about the burden of having to remember your passwords and overutilizing your passwords, right, to gain access to your applications. At the end user, if the experience that I'm having is difficult, then I'm just going to put it aside and technology adoption goes down. And then the third one is the fragmented security, right? And this is perhaps, as IT people, we want to protect our data, right? We want to secure our information and the access to our information. So we fall victim to, okay, these are the resources that we have to protect our data. We want to infringe more security layers at the endpoint side or at the endpoint level. But what it does is it makes it more difficult for the user to utilize those corporate resources, to gain access to those corporate resources. And then again, what happens is when security goes up and security measures go up, where it makes it difficult for the end user to gain access to those applications, then the productivity of that end user is going to go down. Why? Because we probably remember those times where you have to do all these different things, jump over so many hurdles to gain access to a mission-critical application, and just say, you know what, I'll just wait until I get back into the office and send that email or finish up that report or submit that report to my boss. Because right now, my RSA token is not working very well and the credential, I don't remember it, so might as well I just wait until I get into that corporate network. So, how are we solving for some of those challenges? We have an integrated, a platform of integrated solutions, industry-leading solutions, starting with Unified Endpoint Management and Workspace ONE. Does anybody know Workspace ONE? It's been around for a little while. The AirWatch Times, mobile device management, enterprise mobility management, unified endpoint management now, right? We keep adding more stuff to it. Why? Because now the requirement of the end users is to gain access to any application, whether it's a web application, SaaS application, cloud application, legacy on-premise application across any device, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a tablet, whether it's an IoT, whether it's a wearable, whether it's augmented reality, virtual reality, literally across any device. Then we also have virtualized desktops and virtualized applications. We saw that during the pandemic. Overnight, we had to work with our customers to deploy virtualized desktops to end-user personal devices so they can gain access to not only those mission-critical applications, but also to an entire desktop. In working with our hyperscaler partners, we were able to spin up virtual desktops overnight in the thousands for our customers. Workspace security integrated with SASE and edge computing to bring you cloud web services to protect those end users from phishing attacks, right? Eric was mentioning in the keynote that the endpoint and the users are the biggest threats of security to the organizations, right? So we've got an identity manager to allow single sign-on access in a secure way, multi-factor authentication, and the digital employee experience, which is very important. All those three integrated solutions in their single platform that we call the VMware Anywhere Workspace bring these outcomes of a better employee experience. And why is that important to you? Why is it important to have a good employee experience in your organizations? If you're interested in attracting good talent and retaining that talent in your companies, then we have to look after those end users. I think it was some of the data that we were seeing in the beginning mentioned 50% of the Generation Z, 48% of the millennial generations. Most of the workspaces today are constituted by millennials and Generation Z. And do you know what's on top of mind for them when they go to a company or they stay at a company, or whether they stay at a company or not? Number one, do I feel identified with the company culture? Number two, is the office space that they're providing me, comfortable? I feel inspired to be here. It promotes collaboration. And number three, is the company giving me the technology that I need so I can gain access to the corporate resources that I need to do my job, not only efficiently and productively, but in a consumer-like technology. Now, I'm not an interior designer and I'm not an HR person, so I can't help you with the first two, but I can help you with the third one. Then security obviously is on top of mind. We want to protect the endpoints because, again, it's the biggest threats to your organization's security. And workspace automation because we want to be able to do more with less. We want to leverage data science. We want to leverage intelligence to be able to automate orchestrated workflows that work for you. So it allows IT to be able to spend more time in innovative ways for the business. So let's dig a little deeper into this digital employee experience because it's really, really important. And when we're thinking about the digital employee experience and we match it against the hybrid work, the experience of us, the employees, the end users, it's really that pulsing score of whether we're being successful or not, okay? And that ties up to productivity, and that ties up to the level of service that your customers will get. So it all starts with delivering, right? It starts with an integrated catalog that we call Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub. We're going to look at it a little bit later. But it's about giving access to all the applications in a centralized place, in a single application that's going to give me a unified experience across all my devices, that's going to give me access not only to those web applications and cloud applications and SaaS applications, but even third-managed applications, okay? It's going to give you access to directory services. It's going to give you access to absolutely everything that you need as an end user to do your job. After we've done that, then we can start measuring. We can start measuring whether those applications are working properly. Is the device crashing after the latest operating system update? Is the rebooting time on that PC optimal or not? Is the battery health on that PC optimal or not? Then when we measure, we got to analyze that data across the entire organization. So we can develop a scoring system and say, okay, our employees seem to be happy with the technology that we're giving them, or the score is a 7, or the score is a 6. We got to then put some remediation workflows to solve and remediate those issues so we can bring that score of the digital employee experience up, because that equals productivity. Now, the VMware Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub, for those of you that haven't and have seen it, well, here's a reminder, but it's a unified experience. I was telling you, it's an application that's going to open up the keys to the kingdom of your organization. It's a catalog of all the applications that IT administrators configure to your user profile that you need to do your job. It's got a single sign-on capability, so you don't have to remember those passwords, but it utilizes multi-factor authentication to gain you access in a secure way. You can do certain self-service support tasks, so we can alleviate a little bit of the burden on those help desk support tickets and IT admins. Who knows what's the top 3, or at least within the top 3, issue with support? Password reset, right? I mean, that accounts for almost 70% of all the support tickets. I forgot my password, or my password expired, I need you to help me. You got to generate a ServiceNow ticket or whatever type of ticket it is. Then somebody needs to help you. How many hours were you out of work? Can you quantitate that into productivity for that person? How about if you empower that person to reset their own password through the Intelligent Hub of Workspace ONE? How about if you empower that user to say, all right, I forgot my phone at the bar last night and I can't find it and nobody can find it. I'm going to do an enterprise wipe through my Intelligent Hub. Because time is of essence when it comes to security, right? I left my device in the Lyft or in the Uber, but I have the ability to send a message and hopefully the Uber person will be able to see it and send it to me. That kind of works more in Latin America where Uber is different. You don't have the messaging system post you've been delivered. Here you can kind of do it through the Uber app and it's fine, but you get my grip. And people search. I mean, we do it all over, all the time at VMware. I mean, we're literally customer number 1 and the largest adoption of Workspace ONE at VMware. Every single one of us uses it, and we cannot perform our duties without Workspace ONE. It just can't happen. And it's integrated with directory services that allows me to reach out to Amer or Ram when I need a little piece of information, I need to connect with them, and I can't find them through email. So other uses or other use cases of the digital employee experience management is, if we think about the measuring and the analyze part of that circle, is measuring the app performance. Your organizations are paying a lot of money to modernize and to deploy certain applications that are critical to the business. How do you know they're working properly? How do you know they're not crashing on your users? How do you know how many users are utilizing that application? Are you being only reactive to those issues or being proactive and preventive to those issues? Being able to analyze this data through the intelligence, Workspace ONE Intelligence, allows you to create workflows that will give you that remediation, not only reactive, but proactive and preventative. The user experience at a glance, the device performance, long boot and shutdown durations, all those things are important in the performance and the digital employee experience. So, Talking a little bit about other use cases, I'm assuming there's some retailers in the house, or not. But those of you that are out there and those that are not in retail perhaps can relate to some of the stuff. Retail is very peculiar because during the pandemic, you guys, I applaud you. You had to reinvent yourselves overnight to deliver services to your customers. I mean, I'm sure that most of you have walked into a grocery store, right, and see those people with a handheld device in their hands, going up and down the aisles, opening an application and saying, you know, Ed would like to order all these items, and you can pick the first item on aisle number 1, the second item on aisle number 2, and so on and so forth. Bagging them up, Ed is waiting in parking space number 4, load them up in the trunk, close the trunk, and then it's gone. He was working on the slides for today, so he didn't get a chance to go into the store. Right? How many of you have been to a hardware store and woke up to a kiosk, right? And then just no interaction with any human being. I'm looking for a blue handle hammer. Well, hammers are on aisle 37, but we don't have a blue handle hammer in the store, but we've got 3, 4, and 5 in all these stores nearby. Oh, and by the way, if you would like to order online, we can have it at your house in 3 days. Right? All this stuff is thanks to technology. How do you make sure that that application is working properly, and then when I get to that kiosk, the application is not crashed, right? Or that when I park in that grocery store, that person actually was able to open the application and get my items, and I'm not just sitting there, right? It's important to make sure that those applications are in secure devices. It protects the information, but it also enables and empowers. If we look at healthcare, anybody in healthcare? So in healthcare is one of those market segments that it's highly regulated, right? Everything has to be HIPAA compliance, and rightly so, right? I mean, they're protecting our information as patients, medical practitioners, and so on and so forth. You know, when my oldest son was born, I remember that we were in the room with my wife, and here enters a nurse pushing this cart with big screen on top of it and a little box taped in the back. And every time that she would go in, she would scan my wife's wristband, and every time that she administered some medicine, she would scan the medicine, the wristband, and all that stuff. And I thought it was peculiar. Then I used to work for AirWatch. So then here comes the doctor later in the afternoon with his personal phone and says, all right, Paola, so I see that you had a little bit of a pain medicine. How is your pain feeling now? Is it 1 through 10? Is it a 5? Okay. I see that you've been walking. That's good signs. Baby's doing good. You're doing good. We'll have you out here in 3 days. I realized then and there how important it was for that medical person, that nurse, to have the ability to go from room to room without any cables hanging or any big PCs hanging or the old charts, writing stuff down. Scanning absolutely everything that my wife was taking and allowing that doctor that wasn't an employee of Northside to gain access to their corporate resources in a so heavily regulated industry. So he can provide a better service for my wife. So if they have to act quickly, they'll know exactly what my wife had taken and don't have to go back and get a chart and put in her life at risk. Now, my brother works for a big medical lab, and they make medical equipments for cardiovascular surgeries. And I'm not going to even try to explain exactly what he does because I can't. But he works for this company, and he is not a medical doctor. He's a biomedical engineer. But he goes into the surgery room with a cardiovascular surgeon where they have a big screen of the resonance of the heart, all the entire 4D mapping of the heart. And my brother with a 4D imaging of his medical equipment and how it's installed for that particular patient right next to the surgeon. A non-medical person right next to the surgeon teaching him how to install something on a patient. Reducing, minimizing, almost eliminating any risk of error in cardiovascular surgery. To me, that is amazing. That information needs to be secure. That information needs to be not only secure, but it needs to be there when it needs them the most. This is a life and death situation. Who flew into San Antonio? Okay, so did any of you do what I do, peek into the cockpit and see what's there? So usually to the sides of the pilot and the co-pilot, there are two laptops, right? Two tablets, right? Maybe an iPad, a Microsoft Surface, something like that. So do you remember back in the day, and this is, I don't know if Eric is still here, this is not me doing the age testing. The pilot's just strolling with a big case that was weigh like 50 pounds or something like that. They had all the mapping, all the flight manuals, all that stuff is in there, right? They have to print that stuff periodically, all the time, because it changes. Now the pilots have it right there in the cockpit, pilot and co-pilot. They still have to fly with one physical one just in case. But again, this is critical, mission critical information that the pilots and co-pilots use every day to fly those airplanes. And it is the chances of you flying into an airplane that was managed by Workspace ONE are very, very high. So cool stuff, pretty neat stuff. In the world of logistics, distribution, I don't know if there are any of you out there, but those big scanners, right? Those barcode scanners, Ram was talking a little bit about that. We manage Zebra technology, OSs, Android OSs for ruggedized devices. I'll tell you one quick story. This is Latin America, so this is where I thrive. So the largest bottling companies in the world use our solution to manage the ruggedized devices that are constantly scanning those boxes of bottles that go from the conveyor belt, from the supply chain, onto the trucks and to the delivery of the stores. If that device runs out of battery, if that application doesn't work properly, then they can't do deliveries. And how much does that cost the business if they're not able to do that? And I'll give you one more personal story, and I know that I've got a bunch of them, and I really do. So a couple of months ago, the dryer in our home just completely stopped working. So I did what most of you would do, right? I went and got a master's degree technician in the University of YouTube. And after trying to change that thermal fuse 4 times, I finally gave up, and I couldn't do it. So I bought a new one. And I went to this retail store, electrodomestic retail store online, and I bought one. Said, okay, Mr. Schick, we'll deliver it in 5 days. The day before, I get a text message from the delivery people. They're gonna be showing up between 10 and 12, which I thought was, that's a big win, because in the old days, cable companies like, we'll be there from 8 in the morning until 8 in the afternoon. So he shows up to the house, gets out of the truck. He says, Mr. Schick, yes, sir. So good news and bad news. Good news is I have your dryer in the truck. The bad news, the device that I use to snap a picture once I install that dryer and then I have you sign for it accepting the delivery, it's dead. The battery went out and I forgot to get the cable. And I said, are you serious? We haven't done laundry in a week. In my house, I've got 2 boys doing sports, me, my wife, and a French bulldog that likes to play dress up. So our stack of clothes is to the roof. So I was like, no. You know what? Let me see if I can find a cable. I found a cable. We charged it in the living room. He installed it. And then finally, I gave it to him and I said, you know what, my friend, go and take it with you. Now, I'm a reasonable guy, and I didn't complain about it. But I mean, think about it. It's bad customer experience, right? But not only that, when I looked at him, he was so shameful. He felt so bad. So his employee experience was also bad. How about if that delivery service, this big retail, and we know this retail companies, they subcontract this delivery companies, but what if they had set up some parameters where it says, you know what, if the battery falls below 30%, I'm gonna notify your sales manager. And if the battery falls down below 25%, I'm gonna send a note to the sales manager to give you a call and see what's going on. And maybe remediate when it's still time, not when the battery is completely gone and you can do nothing about it. Those are the little things that make a big impact in your businesses that I want you to take away. So I know I kind of running out of time with my stories, but we've been working with customers and unifying the way they manage all their devices. We've introduced automation or some automation so we can reduce the number of manual tasks. And now where we're heading is autonomous workspaces. And we talked a little bit about artificial intelligence, and we're talking about data science and intelligence and automation processes. What autonomous workspaces is, or where we're heading, if you look at automation, right? It's kind of like having a vehicle that you set it up on speed control, and then it goes at that. You still have to steer it and take it and drive it to the final destination, right? In the sense of IT is, we have an application that we detected it crashed. So I need you to generate a support ticket, and then somebody from IT is going to troubleshoot. In an autonomous workspace, you create this desired state, and the solution with data science and intelligence takes it there. It generates all the orchestration of workflows to get there. So in the sense of the example of the car, it's like having an intelligent car. It's like, take me to soccer practice and get the best route, the best speed, and then take me there. That's where we're heading. And I'll end it with some connotations or quotes from some of our customers. I'm really proud to say that we work with the Malala Foundation. We at VMware had the opportunity to have Malala speak at one of our sales kickoff, and I have to say that that's one of the high points of my experience at VMware. But they were able to have. We're able to bring their staff more flexibility, a more personalized experience, as I was telling you in the beginning, that's so important to end users today to be more productive. We have a large bank in Colombia called Banco da Vivienda, and in terms of PC lifecycle management, you probably know that getting a new PC ready for a new hire can take you 3, 4, 5, maybe a week's time while you load up the images, you patches it, and all that stuff. How about if you empower the end user like we did in Da Vivienda and have the device ready, deliver from our strategic partners' depots directly to the hands of the end users and have it up and running in 30 minutes. So your day 0 or your day 1 in your new hires is your right off the bat running and not waiting for your devices. So with that, I'll end it. Thank you for your time.